Hi everyone, if you're a man over 60, this is for you. Today we're tackling a topic almost no one talks about openly. The one habit that can quietly make your prostate grow faster as you age. You might notice it as more frequent bathroom trips at night, weaker stream, or that nagging feeling that you haven't fully emptied your bladder. These aren't just normal aging signs, often they're linked to lifestyle choices we can change. The good news? Research shows that by avoiding this one common habit, you can reduce stress on your prostate, improve urinary health, and even support better overall wellness. And no, it's not about expensive supplements or drastic diets. It's something simple but powerful that you can start working on today. So, stick with me for the next few minutes as I break down what's happening inside your body, why this habit speeds up prostate enlargement, and, most importantly, how to stop it now to protect your health. Most men believe that prostate problems arrive only because of aging, but inside the body something far more controllable is often at play. Day after day, choices accumulate like drops of water filling a glass. Eventually that glass overflows, and symptoms begin to appear. Frequent nighttime trips to the bathroom, hesitating before a stream begins, the sense that your bladder never empties completely. These are not random misfortunes, they are signals, quiet warnings that a hidden trigger has been active for years. This trigger is not exotic, not rare, not something you need a medical degree to recognize. It is a simple, repeated behavior that feels harmless in the moment, but steadily increases inflammation and hormonal imbalance around the prostate tissue. Think about your daily routine from the time you wake up until you go to bed. There are patterns built into your mornings, your meals, your work breaks, your evenings. Within those patterns lies a force shaping your internal health as surely as weather shapes the land. Research has shown that a diet high in processed, salty, and sugar-laden foods combined with long periods of physical inactivity drives up insulin levels, alters testosterone metabolism, and raises chronic inflammation. That environment signals prostate cells to grow. Over months and years, the gland slowly enlarges. It doesn't feel painful at first, it just becomes a new normal, and by the time it interferes with daily life, the habit behind it has become invisible, like background noise you've learned to tune out. The most powerful way to hold an audience here is to bring this invisible habit into the light. Imagine sitting at a desk for hours, reaching for a convenient snack, washing it down with sweetened drinks, then collapsing into a chair or couch at night because you're tired. None of these actions is dramatic on its own, but together they form a silent growth trigger. They push your body toward metabolic stress, higher estrogen activity relative to testosterone, and increased conversion of certain hormones that stimulate prostate tissue. That is why some men with similar ages have completely different urinary health profiles. The difference is not simply genetics, it is the slow accumulation of daily behaviors. Now picture changing one small element. Replace even one processed meal with whole foods rich in antioxidants and fiber. Break long sitting periods with short walks or stretches. Lower your intake of alcohol and sugar-sweetened beverages. These adjustments sound minor, but physiologically they reduce inflammatory messengers circulating in your bloodstream. They help regulate blood sugar and hormones. They improve blood flow to the pelvis. Over time, these changes remove the very fuel the silent trigger relies upon. The prostate no longer receives the same chronic growth signals. Many men notice fewer nighttime bathroom trips, stronger urine flow, and improved energy simply from addressing the routine that seemed too ordinary to matter. There's another layer that keeps viewers leaning in. Most people think only big dramatic interventions work. In reality, the prostate responds slowly but steadily to small, consistent improvements. By framing it as a secret or hidden cause, not a supplement, not a fad, but something you do every single day without thinking, you build anticipation. As you describe how this habit operates at the cellular level, you show your audience the power they already have. For instance, prolonged sedentary time lowers levels of an enzyme that helps deactivate harmful hormones in the liver. Excess refined carbs spike insulin, which indirectly raises a growth factor known to stimulate prostate tissue. Chronic dehydration concentrates urine and irritates the bladder neck, compounding symptoms. Layer these details step by step so the listener feels they're uncovering a mystery rather than sitting through a lecture. Another way to keep them engaged is to describe the consequences in relatable images. Say that the prostate is like a sponge. Under constant hormonal pressure, it swells. Or say that inflammation is like a low-grade fire smoldering in the background, and each processed snack or hour of immobility throws more fuel on it. In contrast, healthier choices are like water poured onto that fire, gradually cooling it until the tissue calms down. These metaphors make complex biology easy to visualize, and they imprint on memory. When a viewer reaches for a sugary drink later, they'll recall the fire and think twice. Throughout this explanation, avoid shaming. Instead, emphasize control and possibility. Many men over 60 have spent decades in routines shaped by work, stress, and convenience. It's not their fault, but now they can act. By pointing out that the silent trigger is not destiny but a pattern, you offer hope. That hope is what drives them to keep watching. Each minute adds a new piece: first the symptoms, then the hidden behavior, then the biological mechanism, then the small actions that weaken the trigger, then the image of a calmer, healthier prostate. This narrative arc mirrors the journey they can take in real life. Finally, speak with urgency but also reassurance. Urgency keeps them from clicking away. Reassurance makes them feel safe enough to listen. Stress that the earlier they identify and reverse this hidden trigger, the more they protect not only their urinary function but also sexual health, sleep quality, and confidence. Show them that this is not a gimmick or a quick fix, but a practical shift supported by science. When they see you laying out the pieces like a puzzle, symptom by symptom, cause by cause, solution by solution, they feel part of a discovery process rather than a lecture. That feeling of discovery is what holds attention and builds trust. Every action you take from the moment you wake up until you close your eyes at night quietly programs your body's internal environment. The prostate is not an isolated structure that grows or stays calm on its own. It sits at the crossroads of your hormones, your circulation, your nervous system, and your immune responses. That means every bite of food, every drink you pour, every hour you sit or move, every night you sleep too little or too late sends signals that either support or stress it. Many men believe their prostate issues appeared suddenly, but what they're experiencing now is the accumulated result of thousands of small choices performed automatically over decades. When you open your eyes in the morning, your body begins interpreting cues. If you start the day rushing, skipping hydration, grabbing processed food on the go, stress hormones surge and blood sugar spikes. Those stress hormones and blood sugar peaks influence how testosterone and estrogen are balanced in the bloodstream, and this hormonal imbalance is one of the primary drivers of prostate enlargement. Even caffeine, alcohol, and excess salt in the first hours of your day can tighten blood vessels, reduce pelvic circulation, and irritate the bladder neck, which amplifies urinary symptoms later. In contrast, beginning with water, slow breathing, and whole food gives the gland a calmer environment before the day even starts. As the day unfolds, sitting for long periods becomes another silent signal. Immobility reduces pelvic blood flow and compresses the muscles surrounding the prostate. Reduced circulation means less oxygen delivery and less removal of inflammatory waste products. Over months and years, this sluggish environment increases local inflammation, which in turn sensitizes nerve endings and thickens tissue. Breaking up sitting time with even short walks or stretches acts like opening a window to fresh air, bringing movement, oxygen, and improved hormone sensitivity back into the pelvic region. The meals you choose through the day provide another constant stream of messages. Diets heavy in processed meats, fried foods, and refined carbohydrates create oxidative stress, a state where damaging molecules outnumber the antioxidants that protect tissue. In the prostate, this oxidative stress can trigger growth factors and inflammatory pathways, By contrast, meals rich in colorful vegetables, healthy fats, and plant-based proteins supply antioxidants, zinc, and phytonutrients that calm these pathways. Think of each meal as a vote for either swelling or soothing. Over weeks of repeated votes, the outcome becomes visible in urinary comfort, nighttime frequency, and energy levels. Your evening habits carry their own weight. Consuming alcohol late, eating heavy meals close to bedtime, or scrolling on screens until midnight elevates cortisol and disrupts melatonin. Poor sleep alters the body's ability to repair tissue and regulate hormones. This creates a feedback loop where the prostate remains in a state of low-grade stimulation rather than rest. Prioritizing an earlier bedtime, dimming lights, and reducing stimulants signals the nervous system to shift into recovery mode. When that happens, nocturnal hormone rhythms restore, blood pressure lowers, and the tissues of the urinary tract relax. Even hydration patterns matter. Many older adults cut water to avoid frequent urination, but chronic underhydration actually concentrates urine, making it more irritating to the bladder and urethra. This sets up a cycle of urgency and frequency that feels like prostate trouble, even when part of the problem is the quality of urine itself. Sipping water steadily during the day and tapering in the evening can support kidney function and reduce irritative symptoms without flooding the bladder at night. Stress management forms another unseen layer. High, persistent stress elevates adrenal hormones that indirectly increase prostate cell sensitivity to growth signals. It also drives comfort eating, alcohol use, and inactivity. Building even 5 minutes of daily breath work, meditation, or mindful walking lowers that hormonal pressure. Over time, these practices act like turning down the volume on a loudspeaker that has been blaring growth signals to your prostate. By presenting these details step by step, you allow your audience to see the invisible architecture of their own day. Instead of one big, mysterious cause, they realize their prostate health is a living reflection of their patterns. Morning choices set the stage, daytime movement and meals reinforce or undo it, evening habits decide how well the body repairs. Each piece is small, but together they create a powerful environment for either growth or calmness. When you explain it this way, listeners lean in because they recognize themselves. They see that they don't need a miracle supplement, they need to realign their daily rhythms. Adding vivid images keeps them engaged. Describe hormone imbalance like a tide that creeps higher on a beach with every full moon if nothing is done to pull it back. Describe sedentary time as a dam blocking fresh water from reaching a lake, causing it to stagnate. Describe antioxidant-rich foods as tiny shields protecting cells from sparks that would otherwise ignite inflammation. These metaphors help people remember the message long after the video ends. The goal is not perfection but awareness and consistent small shifts. Replace a sugary snack with a handful of nuts or berries. Stand up and stretch for 2 minutes every hour. Drink water throughout the day instead of cutting it off completely. Dim lights an hour before bed. These simple changes work synergistically. They reduce the inflammatory and hormonal triggers that feed prostate enlargement and give the gland a chance to quiet down. With time, the same body that produced symptoms begins to restore balance because the instructions you're giving it through your routine have changed. Every habit carries a momentum of its own. When repeated for months or years, it becomes a loop so automatic that you no longer notice the signals your body is sending. This loop is not just about what you do, but also about how your tissues respond, how your hormones shift, how your nervous system sets its baseline. For the prostate, this loop can mean constant low-grade stimulation, chronic inflammation, and progressive enlargement. The first step in protecting yourself is to recognize the loop for what it is, a cycle of behaviors and internal responses feeding each other until symptoms appear. Once you see it clearly, you can disrupt it and prevent it from breaking your comfort, your sleep, and your confidence. Imagine waking up at night several times to urinate, feeling unrested, starting your day tired, and reaching for fast energy foods. Those foods spike blood sugar, which raises insulin, which shifts hormone balance, which further stimulates prostate tissue. Because you're tired, you skip exercise, spending long hours sitting, which reduces pelvic circulation and increases stress. This stress raises cortisol, which again disturbs hormones and sleep. Each element reinforces the next. This is how a cycle silently tightens around your life until it feels like aging is inevitable and unstoppable. Yet what's really happening is a self-sustaining pattern that can be interrupted. The power of interruption lies in small, deliberate actions placed at key points in your day. When you choose to drink water first thing in the morning instead of reaching for sugar, you lower the stress signal. When you decide to walk for 5 minutes after each meal, you reduce insulin spikes and improve blood flow. When you breathe deeply for 2 minutes before bed, you lower cortisol and prepare your nervous system for deeper sleep. Each of these changes may feel minor, but it acts like a wedge in the gears of the cycle, slowing it down until it loses force. Over time, the loop reverses. Better sleep leads to better food choices, which leads to more energy for movement, which leads to healthier hormones and a calmer prostate. To make this vivid for your viewers, describe the cycle as a wheel rolling downhill. Every unexamined habit is another push making it spin faster. The moment you put your foot out and touch the wheel, even slightly, you slow it. With enough small touches, the wheel stops and can be guided uphill again. This picture helps people understand that they don't have to overhaul their entire life at once. They just need to place well-chosen pauses in the routine that's been carrying them away. It also gives them a sense of agency. Instead of feeling like victims of aging, they become participants in reshaping their health. Biology supports this approach. Studies show that breaking up sedentary time with light movement improves insulin sensitivity within days. Lowering evening alcohol intake can normalize nighttime urination patterns within weeks. Adding antioxidant-rich foods reduces inflammatory markers that stimulate prostate growth. Stress reduction techniques lower sympathetic nervous system activity, which otherwise keeps the pelvic muscles tense and contributes to urinary urgency. When explained step by step, these facts show viewers that their body responds quickly to new instructions, encouraging them to stick with the changes. Another way to hold attention is to acknowledge the discomfort of change. People expect instant transformation, but cycles built over decades unwind gradually. By framing change as an experiment rather than a test, you lower resistance. Invite them to try one shift for 7 days and notice even subtle improvements. Sleeping an hour longer, waking with less urgency, feeling lighter during the day. These small wins provide evidence that the cycle is breaking and motivate them to keep going. Emphasize that consistency, not perfection, is what rewires the loop. Use language that paints clear contrasts. Call the old routine a closed circle, where stress, poor choices, and symptoms chase each other, and call the new routine an open spiral, where each improvement leads to more energy and better health. Metaphors like these make invisible processes feel tangible. People can imagine stepping out of a circle and onto a spiral, climbing steadily upward rather than running in place. This mental picture stays with them long after the video ends and influences their next decision. Show how breaking the cycle protects more than just urinary comfort. Balanced hormones support sexual health. Stable blood sugar stabilizes mood. Regular movement strengthens the heart. All these benefits flow from the same changes that calm the prostate. By connecting the dots, you give your audience a richer reason to act. They're not only avoiding discomfort but also building vitality. This broader vision keeps them watching because they're learning how one set of habits shapes multiple aspects of aging, not just one gland. Speak with both urgency and encouragement. Urgency comes from explaining how the cycle accelerates symptoms if ignored. Encouragement comes from showing how quickly the body begins to respond once the cycle is interrupted. Describe a future version of themselves who wakes once a night instead of 3 times, eats with intention, moves easily, sleeps deeply, and feels in control again. This imagined future becomes a magnet pulling them forward. When they can see it clearly, they're more likely to take the first small step. By guiding viewers through the cycle, naming its parts, And illustrating the power of interruption, you create a narrative that mirrors their own experience. Each paragraph you speak becomes another piece of a map leading them out of the maze. They stay engaged because they feel you understand their struggle and